Hello, if everybody could take their seats, please. Thank you so much for coming. Are we going over there, Martine and Christine? Are we live? All right, welcome everyone to everybody who's here in person and those watching on the Facebook feeds. We apologize for any technical difficulties we had this morning. We didn't expect it to be such a hot day and our phones stopped recording when they got overheated. We think we might have corrected that problem. This is a socially distant event. Please remember to maintain all COVID-19 protocols, including wearing your mask at all times and maintaining 6 feet between yourself and others not in your family group. My name is Ronnie Trubeck, and I've been a real estate agent with Century 21 Showcase Realtors for over 40 years. We at Century 21 Showcase are all devastated by the unthinkable losses suffered by our Showcase family, our clients, our co-workers, and our entire community. On behalf of Century 21 Showcase Realtors, I would like to express our profound gratitude to all the firefighters, police, and first responders who helped keep us safe, and we are especially grateful to our volunteer firefighters and firehouse auxiliaries throughout the valley. A word about some changes to the program for today's event. First of all, thank you to all today's presenters. We know anyone involved in the recovery aspects is terrifically busy, and we are very appreciative of your time. I know you will all be very disappointed to learn that our keynote speaker, Cheryl Wong from the Environmental Health Department, notified us at 4 p.m. yesterday that she is not being allowed to speak at this event. The planning department also notified us that they are extremely busy and that they do not have the staff to maintain their offices and their recovery center down at the Kaiser Arena. Politics, what can I say? So we found some excellent substitute speakers. Our first session was rockin'. We had great questions, and people, as they left, said they got tons of great information. So I hope you stay tuned for who we have lined up for you to hear. Also, we have Santa Cruz County Planning and Environmental Health Department handouts available here. And if you message us on the Facebook feed or call us at 831-438-8400, we're happy to email you the handouts from all the speakers today. Later in the program, we will share some newly added information from the Red Cross, and we'll update you on Phase 2 of Red Cross resources just coming online. As I mentioned, we had some technical difficulties this morning, but our hope is to splice together a video of the entire event to be posted to both of our Century 21 Facebook pages and uploaded to YouTube. If you're viewing remotely and you have questions, please text them or message them through Facebook. That is, the feeds are being monitored and we will get the questions to the presenters. But remember that each time slot is limited, so please keep your questions general in nature. All of our presenters are available to meet with you here on site or are accessible by their URL, their websites and their phone numbers, which we will also include in any emails that we send out. So I'm very pleased to announce our first speaker, which is Mike Hogan and Jeff Flessner from Hogan Land Services. Mike and Jeff will present a wildlife recovery roadmap to help you understand the steps to be taken to rebuild your home as quickly as possible. Hogan Land Services is a statewide company that specializes in civil and structural engineering, septic system testing and design, land surveying, permit assistance, violation resolution, and is very familiar with the entire Santa Cruz County permitting process from beginning to end. We get the permit as their tagline, and I believe somebody has that on their shirt on the back. So anyway, Jeff, I think I will interrupt myself. The assessor was here this morning, and she didn't stay and didn't tell us she was coming, so I didn't put her in the schedule, but she said The most important thing for you to do first is to log on to the assessor's website and file a claim or a calamity report. And what the assessor will do is put that in their process, and after the calamity report for reassessment is filed, they will email you or mail you your assessor's records, which are going to be really important for you to have close to your heart every step of this process, because the assessor's records drive a lot of the decisions the planning department makes. So, calamity report on the assessor's website.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Mike Hogan. This is Jeff Fleissner. I just want to take a minute to acknowledge the devastation and loss that people have had to incur here. Jeff's a local guy here in Ben Lomond, and he's had to be evacuated. My friends here in Scotts Valley had to be evacuated. They actually stayed at my place in Aptos. So as we go through this process, I think this guy's the one who said it's not a marathon, or it's not a sprint, but it's a marathon. So as we go through this process, also give yourself a little time, a little time to think about your loss and your grief and your getting over that, right? Don't just barrel in and worry about all these little details. Think about yourself and your family. We do civil engineering, land surveying, septic stuff, that kind of thing. What we wanted to talk about today is the process, and it doesn't start with running out and getting a set of plans. It starts with site recovery and testing. Down? Oh. So somebody has to come out and clean up your site. There's two choices on that. You have your private choice and your FEMA choice. It's going to depend on your insurance coverage, which we'll get in, those guys will get into more later. And if you go, whichever way you go, it's going to take a while to get the cleanup done. If it's private, you're going to be able to preserve more of what you want on your site. And if it's FEMA, they're going to come in there and they're going to bust through and take out stuff that you might care about. Either way, that's the first step. The second step is getting tested that you are clean and that you don't have bad things in the soil and all that, and that'll come. And then after that is where we get started on the site. We come in and do surveys and review septic issues and figure out where you want to replace your house, how you want it done, get a site plan going, get some architectural drawings going, get some structural engineering going, and then that's when we submit a package to the county for approval. Now, the county's promising expedited review of these packages. What that actually means, nobody knows, including them, because we've asked. So the best way we can expedite things is be the greasy wheel. Get your stuff in, find a squeaky wheel, sorry. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, that's right. So we get your squeaky wheel in there, and we make sure that they have everything they need, and we ask them for some time, estimates, and just talk a lot at them, squeak a lot, and then that's how we end up getting the most expeditious review of your stuff. Now, I think I want to turn it over to Jeff to talk a little bit about the retaining, the foundation thing, right? Go ahead, just jump right in there.
Yeah, so I guess we're kind of doing a good cop, bad cop thing. Pardon? Yeah. And I'm going to be the bad cop. I'm going to be the bearer of bad news in some cases. Oftentimes the foundation has been affected by the tremendous heat, and it can't be saved.
Is it true that the heat creates a chemical reaction within the already cured dried concrete that might be years old?
Right.
Turns it to dust?
Right. Well, let me back up a little bit. Hogan Land Services has 3 offices. Our main office is in Santa Rosa, one in Livermore, and one here in Soquel, and I work in the Soquel office. I've worked there for about 5 years as a project manager and as a licensed civil engineer. And so, obviously, our Santa Rosa staff has a tremendous amount of experience with fire rebuilds. They did a quick check for us, and they had done 500 projects that were fire related.
Well over.
Yeah, well over 500. That was just a quick quick estimate. So I am working with them. They are my managers, so we're working together to assist people in the rebuild efforts. I personally don't have any experience with fire rebuilds, but they have vast experience, and they'll be guiding that effort through me. So yeah, the bad news is the foundation, unless it's a deep foundation, will likely not be able to be salvaged. So that may affect your plans as far as rebuilding the house, as far as whether you'd stay within the same footprint or add rooms.
Possible exception being deep piers.
Right, exactly. So the deeper it is in the ground, the more likely it is that it survived the fire and it will continue to function as intended. And so perhaps the footing part of the foundation, which is the flat, usually for a spread footing, the flat part at the bottom.
The part you never see, right?
Right, the part you never see, might actually be mostly intact. But then the stem wall, the vertical part, which the walls are then built on top of, is likely not salvageable. And we actually had the equipment to do the test ourselves, and we went out and did many tests, and it got to the point where they failed so often that it really wasn't even worth doing the test any longer, that the very vast majority couldn't be salvaged. And so, especially since Cheryl couldn't be here today, I'll try to touch on septic a little bit. As has already been mentioned, we do both civil design and septic design. I actually I head that team in our office, and unfortunately, again being the bad cop and the bearer of bad news, oftentimes septic components can't be reused. Valve boxes, risers, anything near the ground surface is probably beyond repair. So one of the things that would need to happen right away is that someone would need to go out and evaluate which portions of the septic field are still functional and which will have to be replaced. And a question came up in the 10 o'clock presentation where do we do that inspection? Yes, we do sometimes, but we also sometimes subcontract that out, and then we'll gather the information and present it to the county, to Cheryl. So that's a little bit about septic systems. There was also a question about will I be forced to upgrade? You probably all know about enhanced treatment systems. Yes, we do. We do quite a few enhanced treatment systems, which are now have to be approved by the state. It is my understanding currently, though, that if the septic system was installed with a permit and can be recreated as installed, that would likely be able to, as long as it was serving a residence and properly sized, you would be able to continue to use that septic system. However, if you expand, if you add bedrooms, then you would likely need either a new septic system or some kind of additional field, perhaps.
So far, the county's regulations they've not given us a lot of latitude yet. But obviously, as we move ahead, we're going to push back, try to get some more latitude for existing systems that may not have been permitted, systems that are a little too close to a creek or something like that. It's going to depend on, as Jeff said, it's going to depend on what you want to build back. If you want to go from a 3-bedroom to a 6-bedroom, we're going to have a little work to do. If you're going from a 6-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, then we're going to push back and try to get that existing system approved if it's possible, if it hasn't been damaged.
Right, and obviously an enhanced treatment system is more expensive. It's more expensive to install. It's more expensive to maintain. It has to be approved by the state, so it comes with extra burdens, both financial and time-wise. But we do a lot of those systems, so we can get those designed and installed and signed off by the county and by me.
One note on surveying that we found is that if if you have a little neighborhood group and you've all been affected by this wildfire, 2, 3, 8, 10 people, we can work on the surveying as a neighborhood group thing, and it makes the cost a lot less per person. There's less obstacles out there, obviously, and there's usually some sort of relationship between parcels that are next to each other in the record maps, and so that's something to think about when you're looking to rebuild. Look around, see who else is that you could be compatible with in the neighborhood, that we can make some savings happen that way.
And certainly, because of the magnitude of your loss, we'd be happy to provide a no-charge consultation to get you started.
What we're doing, there's some brochures over there. If you guys want to come into the office, talk to Jeff or I or one of the other people there, we're offering a 30-minute consultation that will lay out in detail what your particular steps should be for your particular site, and then you can take that and start working through that rather than just wandering around and going to these events. We can give you a nice, succinct plan.
And also, we have a handout there that has on the right side of the page the roster, and each individual or entity has a little graphic that's associated with them. We do try to be the one-stop shop. We do try to offer home builders many of the services that they will require. We do structural engineering, we do civil engineering, we do septic design, we even do violation resolution. Occasionally we will do actually work on architectural plans. Like, for example, if you are able to recover your plans, I know that any paper is probably gone, but the county may have a record. If you're able to reproduce those plans and you want minor modifications to the house layout, we could certainly handle that for you. So we try to be a one-stop shop. We don't necessarily work independently, but others that we can refer you to would be an architect if you want a more comprehensive redesign, or if you don't have plans. Geotechnical engineer, we work with all the local companies. We'd be happy to help you find someone to help you get going. And then, various other design professionals, we're happy to help you get lined up.
If you have some work that was done without permits, that isn't something to be afraid of. That's just something to let us know in the beginning, and we'll try to incorporate that in your rebuild. As Jeff pointed out before, there's the LUAP and the layup.
A question came up in the 10 o'clock presentation about what the county might do. They have a little bit of a reputation to be anti-growth. There was a little bit of sarcasm there. And the question was, might they prohibit someone from rebuilding their house? Even, let's say some of it was built without permits or added on without permits. And as Mike just alluded to, the county has had various programs in place over the last 5 years or so. They had the legalization assistance program, which was the LAP, and then the LAP became the LEAP, which was a slightly different program. And now it's become, I even forget what the term is, structural integrity or something like that. Basically what the county is trying to do is they're trying to prove that, trying to establish that the existing structure is safe. And if it's safe, they will let you continue to inhabit or even continue to rent that structure. And it is because of the housing crisis in the county.
Speaking of the housing crisis, one of our clients that we've already engaged with is planning to do ADU on his property. He'll bring a manufactured home on, and he's going to live there while he rebuilds his house. And then when he's done rebuilding his house, he'll have a rental. So that's a good consideration to think about, depending on what your insurance coverage will allow. ADUs are kind of being, the county is being forced by the state to loosen up on accessory dwelling unit. That's what ADU stands for, the rules on those. So that's something to consider. There's a lot of different considerations, and the thing to remember is maybe people here never intended to build their own house, and now you're stuck with that choice. So get some help, whether it's us or somebody else. get some help, and don't try to bash through it on your own, because it's gonna just sap the rest of your energy.
Right, and on the subject of ADUs, it's a good segue into the fact that it would have been nice to have Cheryl here, because getting the septic system figured out initially is really the right way to start. Whenever we do a building project in Santa Cruz County, you always have to have environmental clearance to submit for a building permit. And that process used to be, the joke was you'd stop on the 3rd floor on your way up to the 4th floor to submit for your building permit. And I actually did that a few times. But no, they're much stricter now. So environmental health is going to review your existing septic system and what you plan to do very, very thoroughly, and before they will allow you to submit for a building permit. So the ADU example is a good one because it brings up all kinds of questions. You know, if that's going to be a permanent fixture on the property, would you want to have one large combined system to handle both dwellings? Or would you want to have 2 independent systems? So that's something that we/I would be happy to help you work through, and we'll definitely try to come up with the most economical option.
Okay. Thanks, Rick. So thank you, guys. One thing I want to add is when I was discussing this event multiple times with Cheryl, she did tell me that they fully expect to have whatever papers submitted to the state, that they will be able to approve systems on their own, and that by December, and that they don't have to be approved at the state level, which can cut months and months and months off of the environmental health approval process, which is required before you submit for your building permit.
And that's really good news that they're doing that. I just want to point out that they're 8 years past their deadline, and 4 years past the extension. But yeah, they're coming in December.
Well, we're ever optimistic, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question to do with
Really loud.
Structural and geologic. Our house was built about 89, either right before or right after the earthquake, and it had part of the house was post with a pier sitting on the ground. Do you think they're going to require to change and put, go into the ground?
So that's a pretty specific question. I'm going to suggest that Jeff find you after we're done talking.
Okay.
You guys can talk about it. He's the structural.
Any other general questions?
I think this is a general question. For folks that have streamside properties or hillside properties where some of their infrastructure is there and we're going to get so much rain and maybe there's an issue with you're going to keep the septic and then it washes away before they're allowed to build. Are those things you're considering maybe recommending moving them back because of that?
I think the Resource Conservation District's going to speak to that.
Not on that because we don't have any. That's a permitting thing. Yeah. But people are asking us that.
Yes. So those kind of things happen. Maybe there's something that can be recognizable on a site visit or some other way to try to prevent that. If it does happen, we hope we have some other land we can put a septic system on. I remember there was this guy out at the river that had a vacation house, and the river came and cut through what they thought was his septic system, and they red tagged his house for 25 years, and he fought him for 25 years, and we found out that the septic system was actually installed in a different place. So there's all kinds of stories out there, and every individual story needs a different solution.
What about a seller who doesn't want to rebuild?
A seller that doesn't want to rebuild.
Yeah.
Is that a real estate question or a tax question?
Well, no, I think it's more of the, what about the county? How are they going to deal with the new owner of that parcel?
They'll deal with them as a new owner and not a fire victim usually. So what people have done sometimes is they work to deal out with the seller and the buyer to kind of get going together, and then the seller goes away.
Okay, well, it also, this fire happened the day after we were going to close escrow. Or the day before we were going to close escrow. So there is a buyer who was going to own it in
That's a really,
Maybe.
that's a really specific question on whether the county has a heart.
It's,
I think you need to maybe go
two
find
cycles
out
too
what the
small.
rules are and try and figure that out. That's a very difficult one. Okay. Any other general questions back there?
Yeah, two questions. One, the 7
your plans are we come out and inspect it.
Okay. And then,
It's going to take a visual inspection anyway.
okay. And then calamity or whatever it was before.
Calamity, yeah.
Is that different than the form you filled out to reassess the new development of the property?
Yep. Yep. No?
I think it might be the same form. It's an assessor's form that you filled out?
Yeah, when you reassess.
Yes, yes.
Spelling out.
Yes, I believe that's the same form.
That's
You
the
can
same form.
double check that on the assessor's website, but I do believe it's the same form.
I had one quick question. When we were handling the losses up in Cobb, it was in October when the fire hit. The county, Lake County, said that, hey, we're not going to allow any demolition to be done during the rainy season.
And wheat, you can still get invasives there, but most of the areas that are burned are close to wildland areas, and we don't want to be, introducing invasive species that are going to outcompete other species there that actually might be more fire resistant and things like that. So, go ahead.
Do you have a recommended mix?
There's one that we're looking at right now. We're just looking at the seed source. There is one that looks like it's pretty good that might be available at San Lorenzo Lumber right now. It's called the San Lorenzo Valley seed mix, and it has a couple annuals that might be good for erosion control. The issue with erosion control is you want stuff that's going to come up right away and have some fairly deep roots. We really recommend mulching depending upon the slope on your property. You can do wood chips, just keep them away, probably between 10 and 30 feet away from your home if your home is still standing. But mulch is a great thing. We're looking at we have a chipping program where we could come in and look at downed wood that's on your property and chip that material and leave it on site as some mulch. The steeper your slope gets, there are different options using jute netting. We have information on how to properly install that. Core fiber rolls are another option on steeper slopes. It's just making sure they're installed properly. Sorry. Okay.
Ryegrass?
Ryegrass?
Ryegrass.
A sterile rye, and Rich is much more of an expert at the seeding recommendation, so I'll let him talk to that, but sterile rye is an option that we use often. Just post-construction, typical post-construction stuff. I would say you can get a false sense of hope because that stuff, especially if you have a slope thinking that initial annual grass is going to prevent a slide, so and everything is so site specific. If you can get someone out there to look at your specific situation, I highly recommend it. But just don't, if you just throw that out there and walk away, that could be a dangerous situation. Anybody else? I can let Rich talk. He'll talk more about actual specifics for erosion control.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much.
Hi, good morning. My name's Drew Mather, and I work in the same office as Angie Grice in the Resource Conservation District. I work for the Natural Resources Conservation Service, so we're a federal agency that works in concert with the Conservation District, which is a special district within your county here in Santa Cruz County. Rich Cassell used to be the supervisor there in the Capitola office, where I'm currently working. And my supervisor, Whit Haraguchi, has a newborn. They had to evacuate, and so he couldn't be here today, so I'm in his place. So Whit sends his sympathies and empathies to all of you here today. I know you've been through a tremendous amount these last few weeks. I just wanted to say really quick, our agency, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, grew up essentially with the conservation districts. We were partnered from the beginning about 80 plus years ago, and your tax dollars pay for us to come out and do site-specific information about the seeding issues that you just brought up. And Rich Cassell has a tremendous amount of experience doing post-fire recovery efforts, and I want to yield most of my time to him. I have business cards. They'll be at the station over there with the Conservation District. be happy to speak with anybody who has issues about their properties. We come out and we'll schedule time to do a one-on-one visit with you. We can bring engineers, erosion control specialists like Angie mentioned, and also engineers, biologists, geologists. That's the beauty of your tax dollars paying for the Natural Resources Conservation Service, that we're trying to get conservation practices on the land to try to prevent erosion and water quality impacts, everything that you're dealing with right now. So thank you for coming. Thank you for your resilience and hanging there. We're here with you to try to get through this all together. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone, and I'm so sorry for the losses that you so sorry for the losses that you've sustained, whether it's your home or your property burned, or maybe you're even a little bit outside the fire area, but you're still concerned about runoff and flooding and other issues that might impact your property this winter. As Drew and as Angie said, my name is Rich Casal. I'm a certified professional erosion and sediment control specialist and have been for nearly 40 years. I worked here as a district conservationist for the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service for nearly 45 years. Most of that time all here in Santa Cruz and San Mateo counties. I'm a field conservationist and worker, so I've been on thousands of properties over the course of my career, visiting many homes and properties in the San Lorenzo Valley and Scotts Valley in that time, following everything from the '82 storm disaster to the earthquake of 1989 to all the other storm disasters and fire disasters we've had in Santa Cruz County. I retired about 3 years ago, but as soon as I retired, NRCS hired me back as a post-fire restoration specialist, and I've been working every fire in California ever since. So whether it's Southern California, wine country, Kincaid Fire last year, Big Sur in 2016, and now all the fires this year. I'm going to try and spread myself as thin as I can, but I'm here really to help you understand what happens following fire. One of my biggest first take-home messages is for not you to be your own worst enemy, and to understand the effect that fire has on the landscape. There's actually good things and obviously bad things that fire does in the landscape, but for the good things that fire does in the landscape, we don't want to jump to the chase and interrupt some of the natural processes in place. That's why it's so important to have a site assessment done, so you know where you stand and where you should go forward with an erosion control strategy. Or maybe we just sit back and wait on nature and everything in between. I've developed quite a bit of information over the years. A lot of that has been updated in the last couple of years. Most of all the handouts that NRCS provides in California, I either co-wrote or authored. So you're kind of lucky, I guess, that I live here in Santa Cruz County, being kind of a state specialist for the agency in this field, and with all the on-ground experience I've had working with people one-on-one. Without getting into a whole lot of detail, and I'm sure all of you have your own site-specific questions,
Just want to say my supervisor now, who is a district conservationist, Whit Haraguchi, his family had to evacuate. They have a newborn. They had some air quality issues. He wishes he could have been here today to speak to you. I work with Whit and with Angie in the Conservation District office. So please call on us. My business card will be over at the Resource Conservation District table. So we'd really like to be able to help you, try to answer some of your erosion control questions, your road issues, culvert issues like Angie mentioned. So thank you so much for being here today, and please reach out to us, and thank you.
Thanks, Drew. Yeah, once again, so sorry for your loss. I've also lived here a long time. Actually helped open the NRC office here about 45 years ago. I've been with the agency a little over 46 years. Currently, I'm a contractor with the Natural Resource Conservation Service because actually we tried to retire 3 years ago, but with all the California wildfires, they hired me back as a post-fire restoration specialist on California wildfires. So in some ways, you're lucky that I live right here in Santa Cruz County and close to be able to help, but I'll also be helping out with all the other California wildfires as well. I'm a certified erosion control specialist and have been for 40 years, and my expertise is post-fire and erosion control. What we're offering folks here that have had damages or are, in the neighborhood of damages, because some folks may just be downslope or downstream of damages and they're still worried about a debris flow or an erosion event or runoff or flooding that may affect their properties. So we are looking at properties that haven't been torched by this fire as well, because they may be in a high hazard area as well. There's really no substitute for an on-site, site-specific assessment of your property. No two properties are alike. They're all unique. And what might be recommended on one property might be totally something completely different on a neighboring property. I can't overemphasize that point enough. Our job is really to try not only to help you prepare for this first winter following fire, but the following winter as well. I always say be prepared for at least 2 winters after fire. So it takes a while for nature to regenerate itself, and any work we do on the landscape, it takes a while for that to be effective as well. Just some take-home points, because I certainly can't go into detail. I could give a whole day-long workshop on all the things you should do or not do. But we do have a lot of this information written down, but more specifically, having an on-site visit will give you basically a better idea of exactly what you need to do. My first thing out of the gate is working with nature, not against her, that she's one of your best post-fire restoration practices. Oftentimes they'll say do nothing, but do nothing really means just to wait on nature. There's a lot of things going on that you don't see following fire, and every landscape is different following fire. So there's seed bank in the soil. There's fire following plants that come in. There's massive leaf drop in areas where leaves of trees were just singed or heat damaged or smoke damage that is going to cover the ground as a natural mulch. There's a hydrophobic effect that the fire has on certain soils that makes the soil more water repellent. That can be a good situation in some categories and a bad in another. We can check for that on your particular property. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that it all depends, because there are different variables on each site, and one size does not fit all. That's why we don't say, go home and seed everything that's burned, or go home and put straw wattles all over the place. Go home and put plastic on slopes, or sandbag this or that. We're not recommending anything like that out of the gate without first having a site-specific assessment and a conversation with you. We don't want you to be too quick to cut down trees and remove fire-burned vegetation, unless, of course, it's endangering a life or high-value property improvement. There are cases where we would certainly recommend those sorts of things. But in many cases, they're actually still providing protection and a benefit to your landscape and your slopes. We want to make sure that you're working with qualified, certified, and licensed advisors and contractors, because we don't want you to be taken advantage of by opportunists that are always present after natural disasters. And let me tell you, do I have stories? But people are, desperate, and they want to take advantage of those that are offering their services. And I've seen people spend practically their life savings on an erosion control practice that in fact has made the situation worse, or caused a new problem for them. I'd like to warn you on emergency practices that they're very high risk. There's a high risk of them failing, and they require a lot of monitoring, and they're not right in every situation. And that includes even sandbags and straw wattles and plastic. As I mentioned, seeding is site-specific, and we don't recommend any widespread seeding, especially on the open landscape or wildland areas. We can make a site-specific seeding recommendation if we think seeding is going to help. But you need to know that seeding is not going to prevent a debris flow. It's not going to help hold your slope. Seeding is for runoff control and surface soil erosion and sediment catchment. And in some cases, you already have enough on the landscape that you don't need the seed. We don't want the seed also to compete with other natural processes in place. Sometimes we might just recommend spread loose straw, rice straw, because it doesn't have weed seed in it. Almost done. I good. So we want to minimize soil and slope disturbances wherever we can. We want to make sure that at the end of the day that we all know that there's no silver bullet and that your property is unique with its own set of variables. This is an exact science. It's not geology, it's not wildlife management, it's not soil science. Erosion control is an exact profession. I know because I co-founded the certification program of soil erosion specialists about 40 years ago. Today there's over 20,000 certified erosion control specialists in 20 different countries around the world. So you need to recognize it as a separate profession, and by doing so and doing the work now and preparing for winter, I think we can do all that we can do to help lessen the impact of erosion. I can't promise 100%, but at least we can lessen the impact. But at the end of the day, when it's not safe, it's not safe. I'm not here to give anyone a false sense of hope with anything that we recommend. So you know what you have, and you'll know what you don't have. Anyway, thank you.
I need to learn how to do that. So does anybody have any questions for the Conservation District? Obviously, they have so much information they could give an all-day seminar. They're just trying to give you a little overview of the types of things that they look at when they come out to your property. You're welcome to contact them for your personal situation. Anybody have any general questions? Okay. I'll repeat that. You can sign up. Let's see here. If you're not here, how are you going to sign up?
On our website, there's a sign up, and you'll be directed there to a page, rcdsantacruz.org, and there's
That's pretty easy. rcdsantacruz.org. You can sign up for a site visit from the Santa Cruz group, not the national group. Oh, both of them. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Sorry to hurry you along, but we have a lot to discuss here. Our next speaker is Brent Calvin from Disaster Cleanup Specialist about all the damages to a property from the firemen themselves or the fire or whatever, including smoke damage, etc. Sorry, Jesse.
Actually, I'm going to let Jesse take it. I'm Brent, everybody. Jesse's going to talk.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jesse Lazama with Disaster Cleanup Specialists. First of all, I want to say my hearts out to you guys and prayers for you ones that lost their homes and all the ones that have been out of their homes for a while and are going back to their homes that are affected by the smoke and whatever perils they may have came across. And I just want to give you a little history of our company. The company's been around for about 40 years. I've been working with the company about going on 29, almost 30 years now. And we're a full service restoration company. We cover San Benito County, Monterey County, and Santa Cruz County. I've been actually involved with fire losses from the Big Sur, Partington Ridge fires that happened out there, and I've also done large loss floods from the Carmel Valley floods that happened in '95. Been a big part of that also. And then, of course, this year with 2020 hitting us with the COVID-19, since our company is a pathogen cleanup services company, we also have been inundated with a lot of COVID-19 cleans and pre-cleans for businesses and homes. Due to the recent wildfires, a lot of you people are going back to your homes, and you're going into your homes that smell like smoke, that smell like a big old ashtray. There's some things for you guys to be worried about is the indoor air quality of your home. You may not see ash or soot in your house, but the odor inside your house could pay a good problem with your breathing. So if you have asthma or respiratory issues, it's good to have a company like us come in and take a look at it. We specialize in duct cleaning, contents cleaning, structure cleaning. We certify odor control in homes. And there's also some easy cleaning methods that we can refer to you guys that you don't have to call a company like us, and that you could do yourself, which will save you lots of money. And they're really easy over-the-counter products that I can tell you about. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you now, but they're easy. You can get them at any drugstore, any supermarket, but it's a real easy cleaning method. We also handle contents cleaning and restoration. Everything from restoration of fine furniture, fine art, china, stuff like that. We also do textiles and upholstered furniture. A lot of the homes in this area are requiring a lot of pressure washing. We do that also. We do pressure washing, and we also do duct cleaning for your property. All my guys are all trained. We're registered to AIQ, which is the American Indoor Air Quality out of Arizona. We're also through IICRC, which is a certification that all my technicians hold. And we do constant training. We get certified every year. We have an abatement division that we get certified every year. We do hazardous waste hauling, bio cleanup, pathogen cleanup, and trauma scene cleanup. All my guys and technicians across the board are all certified in PPE. We have to be respirator fit. So when we go into anybody's homes, we are COVID-19 prepared for getting to your home and handling your personal property. If you have any questions, please go to our booth, grab a package. We got further information over there. Again, my expertise is in air quality control inside your home for odor control after a fire. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
What about getting the smell out of the refrigerator?
Well, if your refrigerator's been locked up and you lost power, you're probably better off getting rid of it. The only reason why is because the seals on your refrigerator, rubber seals, and also they're insulated with insulation on the outside of them. And once you start getting maggots and decomposing food inside there, it's really, really hard to clean it. And by the time you take it apart, replace everything, it's just not worth it. You're better off getting a new one. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, like I said, if you need more information, please pick up a pamphlet. It's got a lot of great information in there. Our information is free. My inspections are free. I'll be more than happy to educate you the best I can. All right? Thank you.
That was great information. I see a lot of pictures of people's refrigerators on Facebook, and some of them are pretty old science projects, I'd have to say. So let's see here. Next is Mr. Reynolds. Are you here? Oh, there he is. So our next speaker is a longtime professional associate of mine, Randy Reynolds, a CPA and founder of a Reynolds Group, a tax consulting firm here in Scotts Valley. And Randy will address IRS and Franchise Tax Board tax consideration, potential tax claims, as well as tax implications of accepting insurance and mortgage payoffs. Make everybody happy.
So Ronnie asked me out here, I want to be available to you guys as a resource. I've had clients already call me on the phone, ask me questions and just all these concerns they have. There's a lot of stuff running back and forth through their heads, so whatever I can do to help out, I'm more than happy to. Some of the big questions I'm getting are, I have insurance proceeds, what do I have to do with them? You have two choices. I can rebuild the house, or I can take the money and do something else. So the IRS in typical cases gives you 2 years within which to rebuild your house or do something else. Because it's a federally declared disaster area, we get 4 years. So you have 4 years within which to rebuild your house, or it's called an involuntary conversion, so you're also able to have that same 4-year period to go somewhere else and repurchase a house as well. So if you just wanted to say, I'm done here, go to Arizona, buy a house there, you can do that with the insurance money and avoid taxes on it. Essentially, when you get the money for your house from the insurance company, you sold your house. And the only way out of selling your house, reporting this gain from the sale of that, is to rebuild it. So, and if you wind up selling your house to the insurance company, you still get the personal gain exclusion for $250,000 or $500,000 per couple. So you can still, it's going to be, I'm not going to say hard, very few people should wind up with a tax bill from this with proper planning. So the other piece is that if you, I had it better this morning. So if you wind up not rebuilding your house, and if you wind up not rebuilding your house and you had no insurance on your house, then you can do what they call a casualty loss. So you can take a deduction for it on your tax return form. It comes across as an itemized deduction, so you have to itemize. This would get you there if you don't normally. And how you figure out the number is you have to figure out your income. The first 10% of the loss compared to your income goes away, so it's limited by 10% of your AGI. And then you get to claim as a loss the difference between the fair market value before the fire and after the fire. So let's say your house is worth $1 million before and $200,000 after. So you have an $800,000 loss in there. So okay, great, I wrote up $800,000, but it's also limited by your purchase price. So if you bought the house for $500,000, you're only limited to a $500,000 loss. Is this making some sense, or am I just going too fast? Okay. So the other couple of cool things that I found when I was looking up information to talk about today is there's something I came across called a public adjuster. And after the first speech this morning, that's what these guys do. So they'll talk about that, but they're here, they're on your side. They're going to take your position to talk to the insurance adjuster who's on the insurance company side. So from what I was able to read, it sounds like a pretty good deal. And I also read that it takes a lot of time and effort. It's almost a full-time job to go through the claims adjusting process, rebuild your house, and then you've got a job that you can't go to. And so it's just real hectic. So it would be a great service to have someone do that for you and represent you. And they can probably, what I was reading, pretty much pay their fee by what they're able to get out of the insurance companies for. So just another service for you. And the best source I found out there was a place called United Policyholders, which helps policyholders deal with insurance companies, and it's a completely free site. So there's just a lot of information on there, and you can find that at uphelp.org. uphelp.org. I was going to say, if us being in Santa Cruz and our county being special, when you go try to rebuild your house, that 2 years is kind of like, there's not a way I'm getting my house rebuilt in 2 years like you would allow me. So I got a presidential area, so now I got 4 years. I think 4 years might be a challenge too, because not only do we have our county, but there's also a limitation of contractors and the number of people that actually do the work. So the IRS doesn't want you to fail, and they don't want to charge you taxes on this. It's kind of like they feel bad for you. So this is one of the rare occasions that you can actually get that 4-year period extended. You know, maybe 5-6 years. It's not, you don't want to be greedy and just do it, but if you can I'd recommend keep a logbook as you go through the process. So if somebody asks you at the IRS, like, well, what'd you do for the past 4 years? And it's like, well, here, take a look. And they take a look and like, okay, yeah, you do need more time. And then they will give you, another year or two. It's you have to apply directly to a district director, as I read. So it is a process. It's not, like filing an extension for tax day. So, but it's out there, and they want to try to help as much as they can. Last thing I want to touch on is that there's special rules with trees and timber. We did one return for a client probably 7 years ago. They had a fire up north, and they lost their trees. And I don't know insurance, and if you have to have special timber insurance or as part of the fire, I don't know what they had, but they got paid for their tree loss. They also had trees that were salvageable, so they came in and logged out the trees. Then they got $250,000 for the trees that they had. So that would be taxable because you sold your trees. But there's a provision where you can go in there and reforest your property, and as long as you spend that money that you got on the trees, and it was supposed to be 2, so I'm assuming it's 4, and we could probably get extensions if we had to, but you can also reinvest that money back into land and reforest it. So I just want to make that out there. So that's kind of what I had for basics. Any questions?
Good question. Is the uninsured casualty loss right on residential and commercial? Would it be taken both? I thought they eliminated that.
The question was, can you take the casualty loss on personal as well as investment property? The answer I'm getting out is yes. So on a personal side, it's available as itemized deduction. On the investment side, it's either going to be a loss on Schedule D, like a stock loss, or if you're actually having the rental there and you're repairing the rental, it either gets capitalized or gets written off as a current rental expense. So it's deductible in a different area without the 10%.
What about personal property where you have a actual cash value loss that's replacement less depreciation that's higher than the amount of coverage you have? Can you use that as a casualty loss? It is a short
Yeah. Yeah, I was working on it. So if you have a loss of personal property that is less than, that's greater than what you got for insurance proceeds or recoverment, can you deduct that as well? The answer is yes. It's kind of like the old school theft loss, like somebody broke into my house. So the answer, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good luck.
See, after 25 times, I got it. I could do it myself. Sorry. So, insurance is a big, complicated discussion, and we had lots of questions on that at our 10 o'clock session, and I've rearranged this afternoon schedule to have more time available for these guys. And these guys happen to be just what Randy was talking about, public insurance adjusters that can negotiate on your behalf with your insurance companies, and they are loaded with information. We could keep them here for hours, so listen up. I guess I should tell you their names, huh? So their names are Reno Beninate and Ken Crown from Greenspan Public Insurance Adjusters.
Ken's got the easy name. I've got the. Yeah. Anyway, hi everybody. My name is Reno. We are with the Greenspan Company Adjusters International. We're licensed by the Department of Insurance from state to state. Ken has multiple licenses in multiple states, and I have 19 of them. Just a little quick background. As a firm, we've been in business over 74 years. I have been a public advocate, public adjuster for 24 years, and Ken's about 35 years. So between the two of us, we've got somewhere around over almost close to 60 years of experience. We have been involved in every major firestorm in recent history in California here. So we're very versed in how it's going to work, how the insurance companies take positions, what you want to do, what you don't want to do, etc. We're going to dive in and kind of condense our normal seminars into a very short one. So if you have not already done this, please order a certified copy of your policy. That is critical, because if you don't have the rule book, you are not in the game, period. The adjuster may cite certain areas of the policy when you're in the adjustment period, and if you don't have the rule book in front of you, you're gonna be at a disadvantage. So understand your policy. You bought a policy; it's actually a contract, and that contract now has verbiage in it, conditions, definitions that you need to know what that is. So that's really important. The policy breaks down in 4 sections. And you probably all looked at it, at least the declarations page. It's A, B, C, and D. And A stands for the, basically handles a dwelling. Dwelling is your structure, the main living quarters. B is your other structures, areas around the property that are not attached, like fences that are not attached, retaining walls, sheds, cabanas, pools, driveways, walkways, etc. Those are considered other structures. That's a separate bucket of coverage. C is your personal property. If you were to take your house before the fire and tip it upside down and shake it, whatever falls out would be considered personal property. And then the final bucket of coverage is your loss of use. And that talks about your temporary housing money that puts you up for that period of restoration that you need. Ken's going to dive into the dwelling section, some pertinent information that you should really know about.
With regards to, everyone can hear me okay? All right, with regards to the dwelling, very first thing you should do is go to the cloud. Hopefully you've got pictures, and get all the pictures you've had. Reach out to family members, relatives, friends, so that it shows the finishes inside your home. If you had an appraisal done recently in the last couple years, that's going to show the finishes. A lot of the plans that are with the county, a lot of these homes had been added to without permits, so it's not going to show the actual square footage. When the adjuster comes out, you want to be there, you want to show him the site specific, you want to be real clear on the type of finishes you had. Replacement cost means you're entitled for what it would cost to replicate the exact finishes in the home. A lot of the homes here were built in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s with Clearheart redwood siding. Clearheart redwood siding is like 5 times the cost of regular non-redwood siding. It's very expensive, and if it's Clearheart, it's even more. A lot of the framing that was built in the 50s and 60s, some of it was right here milled, so they used full dimensional framing. That's a real 2x4, a real 2x6. All those add to the cost, but you want to get a full-blown replacement cost claim. One thing to be aware of is that the stated limits that you see for coverage A may not be the actual limits you have. Typically, these policies have what's called extended replacement costs, which gives you an extra 25 or 50% or even 100%, depending on the insurance company, of additional coverage to apply towards the dwelling. The other thing to be aware of is there's called building ordinance coverage. It's typically 10 or 25%, some instances 50% of the stated dwelling amount. That gives you additional coverage for the cost, for the increased cost to rebuild the house to code. Deeper foundations, sprinklers, energy efficient lighting, HVAC systems. That's part of building ordinance.
Okay, thanks, Ken. I'm going to talk about coverage B, and I'll go into C. Coverage B, again, is other structures. Again, driveways, walkways, sheds, workshops, barns. Anything that's not attached to your main dwelling would be considered other structures. And so we find that in these firestorms and wildfires, people are just not insured to value because they've got a big workshop that they've added over the years. So you should be able to max that coverage out. You also have landscape money available. Ken might have missed that. It's 5% of the dwelling limit. So if you have $500,000 in the base limit of the dwelling, you take 5% of that, and that's allowable for landscape. And that covers trees, bushes, and shrubs. And for those of you with acreage, you're going to get that money pretty easy. So make sure you peel that away right away from the insurance companies. Just ask for it. Count the trees, the bushes, and shrubs. Some limitations on them are 500 per tree, per bush, per shrub. Some are 750 per tree, per bush, per shrub. And just do the math, and it should max out your 5% of coverage A. And again, that should be given to you right away. That's pretty much it on other structures.
Yeah, the only thing I would add with regards to other structures, if you're in a situation where you had multiple structures or a large structure and you're going to exhaust the limit, a lot of people have wells and septic. Is that considered a separate structure? Typically, we consider them part of the dwelling because they're used to service the dwelling. So if there is a potential you're going to exhaust your other structure limit, you want to take the position with the carrier that my well and my septic is servicing the dwelling. It's part of the dwelling costs.
And you've got bigger pot of money to draw from too in the dwelling category. So coverage A is where you want to push it if possible. Personal property, the third bucket. I always say that part of the claim will take years off your life because it is a personal property claim. It's personal, and you're going to have to recollect item for item in each room what was there. Now, many of you get this large advance of maybe 20%, 50% of the limit under that bucket of coverage, well, even up to 75% in some cases. Look, the insurance companies did the math. They're hoping that you get lazy and you don't finish the list or you just give up. It is work. It is the longest, hardest claim to put together, and it's going to take a while. So if you can imagine, most of the homes that are on average 1,800 to 2,500 square feet can have anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 line items of merchandise. So you got to list everything. The goal here for you is to know what that limit is in that bucket C, personal property. And the question you have to ask yourself is, how do I get all my money? Well, you got to do the work. And the work means list every item. You got to add tax, delivery, setup. And if you bought warranties on certain items, like on electronics, add that in. And the goal is to get that number legitimately as high as you can at today's replacement cost. It is not what you paid for it on sale years ago. They owe you for what it costs today to replace. No deals, no discounts. So you get that number, that's called the replacement cost number. Now it is subject to depreciation for wear and tear, age, condition, obsolescence. That's going to drive that number down. So for example, if you had $300,000 limit under personal property and your list comes up to $450,000 when you add everything up, and it's subject to some depreciation, and let's say they take $50,000 off, now you're at $400,000. That's the depreciated value. That number is greater than the $300,000 limit. They owe you everything. And that way you're not married to the insurance company for the next 2-3 years, scrutinizing every receipt you got to get your depreciation money back. That's the quickest way. And look, everything's negotiable with an insurance company. Make no mistake, don't be naive to think it's black and white. We live in the world of theory. And basically they owe you for what you can prove. So prepare a claim, present it, negotiate it. That's your duty under the policy. I'm going to turn it over to Ken with respect to the loss of use coverage, which is your temporary housing bucket.
So right now, a lot of you are staying at friends, hotels. Obviously, keep track of your meals. If you want to pay your friends or family relatives for staying at their place, you can do so. Just fill out a form saying I'm paying X person X amount of dollars. The only thing to be aware of is that the insurance company will probably 1099 your family member if you're paying them, but I'm sure it's a lot less than what it would cost at a hotel. Your meals are reimbursable up to the amount that's above and beyond what your normal meal expenditures are. Most policies, about 95% of them, pay what's called additional living expenses. That's the additional expenses for the cost of renting a house, renting furniture. These relocation companies are going to place furniture packages for you. Make sure you ask for the higher end furniture package, because the regular furniture package is junk and you're not going to be comfortable with it. Keep track of all your mileage. If you're insured with a company like CIG Insurance or AAA, you have the option to make claim for fair rental value, what your house would fully rent for. The most important thing to be aware of now is that the carrier is going to be obligated for the next 2 to 3 years. And by the way, because it's a catastrophe, it is 3 years for living expenses. So with that in mind, if your house is going to rent fully furnished $8,000 a month, hypothetically, that's a lot of money over 2 or 3 years. Many times our insureds, our clients have gone ahead and we've negotiated deals for them to buy an ADU unit where the insurance company pays for it as part of their living expenses, maybe even go out and buy a secondary home that they're just staying in until their home is rebuilt and using the additional living expense monies. Up in Santa Rosa, the carriers would pay for the mortgage plus tax plus interest because it was still less money than what it would cost to rent them a house. So there's some leeway, and it's all a matter of presenting the claim and negotiating it.
Did you mention a standard of living?
Yeah, it's based on your standard of living. So if you had a 2,000 square foot home fully furnished on 2 or 3 acres with a pool, that's what you're entitled to. The problem that you're going to run into here is there's limited housing. And so whatever your house would have rented for fully furnished before the fire is going to be a different number month or two from now, because all the rents are going to go up.
Thanks for reminding me, Ronnie. So what we found in all these firestorms is that you're going to have 6, 7 adjusters coming in and out. So you may start with one. They're coming in from out of state. They're called stormtroopers, and they'll fly them in, and they'll set up shop in a hotel for a couple of months or even a couple of weeks, and then they switch it off to the next person, and then the next person, and then the fourth guy doesn't agree with the second guy's valuation method, and you're starting over. So to avoid this cat and mouse game and nonsense, we would recommend that all your communication be done via email. Do not text the adjuster from out of state. If the communication is not in the corporate system of State Farm, Farmers, AAA, Allstate, and these guys take off to another catastrophe, you gotta have some kind of track record and hold their feet to the fire. So it's really important that if you are on the phone and you're handling a negotiation with them and you hang up, immediately memorialize that conversation via email. Get on there and just, my understanding of today's conversation was bullet point, and send it off to them in the corporate email. Please confirm. And that way there's a track record there for you, and it's traceable. Again, I got to tell you, there was an incredible amount of frustration where people had up in Santa Rosa, and then it happened again in Paradise, in Redding, Weed, California, Mountain Ranch. All these firestorms, we've been to all of them, educating the public, and it's the same thing over and over. So just be aware of that. Don't marry yourself to that adjuster because that person's going to be gone. They want to go home. They're from another state, and they'll end up moving along, and that's pretty normal, unfortunately. I just want to mention one thing. We're not here to sell. Just want to make this clear. This isn't about selling our services, about public information. We're advocates for the public. And the more knowledge you have on the front end, the better business decisions you're going to make. By all these people that have come up here to speak, these are resources. And thank you, Ronnie, for allowing this, because the information is what you need now, not 3 months from now. You're making critical business decisions that are only going to be based on what you know. So it's important.
I think it's important to note, we didn't talk about it last time, but you're not obligated to rebuild at the site to collect your money. You can go out and buy a home somewhere else, and that will qualify as a replacement as long as the home you're buying without the land is equivalent to the agreed replacement cost figure. But the very first thing you have to do is you have to determine what your budget is. You have to secure an agreement on what the carrier is going to pay you. You need to know that ahead of time in rebuilding your home. And you also need to know what that number is if you decide you want to buy a home somewhere else.
And don't mistake friendliness for a friend. I mean, look, they're trained professionals. It doesn't mean they're bad people. The bottom line is they've got a job to do, and your obligation is to present a claim. You're making a claim to the insurance company. They're not making a claim to you. You have to claim your money. And by preparing it properly and presenting it and getting it negotiated is how it's done properly. So hey, we're going to be around if you have any questions. Everybody has different policies. Everybody has different circumstances, different homes. We'll be happy to talk to you guys. We can take inbound calls. There's some information over there, but we cannot approach and solicit. We're under a moratorium, and rightfully so, because we're licensed by the department and we're heavily regulated, which is great because we're consumer advocates at the end of the day. So, any questions? Going once, twice? Yeah, no. Yeah, sure. No, we'll be here.
We'll be here.
Going once, going twice. So over to Ronnie.
Well, I know for sure I would want these guys on my team if I was trying to prepare and submit a claim to an insurance company. I just don't think I would have the depth of expertise on what to do and how to do it, and struggling through it on your own. I know they can't solicit, but I can solicit for them. So anyway, be sure and talk to them. Okay, we have one more speaker, and that is the Red Cross. Oh, they're shaking their head no. They are not speaking. Okay, you can go back and speak to them. I know they have some materials available for you. They have resources, just they can give you water, or I can't remember what she said this morning. Right, this is the after event portion of what they do, but I'm not sure what it is. So they have cleaning supplies, they have water, they have stuff. So go talk to them and see what kind of stuff they have. And I'm going to close this session, and thank you so much for coming, and thank you everybody out there in Facebook land. All right, and bye-bye.